So, hello and welcome along to another edition of Isolation Interviews for Hospital Radio Reading and for my YouTube channel. And well, I'm super excited today because I'm joined by the fantastic Connor Moloney. Even apologies there. How are you, Connor?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I like that stumble. It would have been nice to be called Conor Moloney. I'm very good. Lovely to be here. Yeah, I'm great. All
I mean,
good.
obviously, so much to talk about. We will, of course, talk about Mrs. Brown's Boys because that is a huge part of your life. But
Yeah.
let's go back to where it all began. And do you kind of remember your earliest memories of wanting to be, actor, performer? Where did that come from for you?
Weirdly, I wasn't like I was from a generation. My mum and dad didn't, go to the theater, and there wasn't really much on in our lives. But I remember being in a school play when I was like in Ireland. This would have been equivalent of they used to call it high babies, which would be like reception. And I remember being in the play. I wanted to be the narrator, but I didn't get that part. And I was one of the pixies dancing around the king. But actually, I slipped, and I don't know if this was deliberate in hindsight, but I took the narrator out, and he went falling. And I remember the laughter was like it was incredible. I remember leaving that after the show, saying, "Oh, sorry, I got it wrong to the teacher," and she said, "No, no, it was great. It was great." And I remember that feeling was like being an absolute high. But like that was it. I never did it because I went to like Christian Brothers school over in Ireland, so there wasn't an outlet for there wasn't much drama in that and it's still in later on in school. I think with friends hanging around in summer, you used to pretend to do stuff, act out scenes, but you were doing it in more in a kind of messing around way. But then when I moved school, I went to a different school just for, and I had a great history teacher, and he was the first one to bring us to a play. And his teachers are always so important, you know what I mean? He was a great history teacher, and he took us to see Faith Healer, and I saw this great Irish actor called Donald McCann in it, and I was just remember going, I was transfixed by it. But again, I was like, I didn't know anything about it really, and we saw a few other plays, and I went on to study history in Trinity in Dublin, and it was there. Someone asked me, "Would do I want to be in a play?" And I went, "Oh." There was a group there called they called themselves Players, and they were, I'd been to one or two of the parties, and they'd been quite pretentious, the old cliche of the actors hanging around a glass of wine. And I thought, I don't want to be one of them. But actually, I went and did this play with a friend, and I loved it. I loved it. The freedom of it, just rehearsing, messing around. I was going, wow, you're getting to play, you know what I mean, and just have fun. And I kept it, did a few more plays in college, not low, a few every year, and I just enjoyed them more and more. And then it was coming to the end, like of the arts degree, which always is always like, okay, what am I going to do now? And then I decided, I think I'll give this I'll give this a go. Uh, and because I went to the head of like career guidance in Trinity, and he said you won't be able to get a grant. At that time, then the way to do it was to come to London and go to drama college. Now there's really great drama colleges over in Ireland, but that wasn't a possibility then, and you were encouraged to do it that way. Uh, Not that I'm saying some of the best actors I know didn't go to drama college, and in hindsight, when I went to drama college, I think you just learn by doing it. You know what I mean? But I went to him, and I said you won't get a grant, but he gave me this form for a school in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East, and he said, he said if you go there for a year, you can teach history and in English in a school, and then maybe save up the money. And I just thought about that, and I left the kind of interview, and I was walking across Front Square, and I bumped into an old school friend, and I had the brochure on me, and he said, what are you doing with that? It was all very fortuitous. My sister's teaching there at the moment, and she said she's back next week. And I went, oh, brilliant. Okay. So I filled in the form, sent it off. And I got the job. And then, so when I left Trinity, I taught in the Middle East for a year, academic year, saved money. And then when I came back, I auditioned to any of the drama colleges that had late auditions. So then I went to drama college over here. I went to a place called Reverend Douglas for 2 years. And yeah, I mean, but that's how it kind of all started. I
I
feel like
mean,
I've done a lot of talking there, but go
no,
on.
it's really interesting, and I mean, because obviously comedy is a big part of your life now, and I mean,
Yeah.
when you're on a stage and you get the audience laughing, because comedy is a really hard thing to do, and I mean, I would never even try and like go there because it looks so tricky, but to land it right. and then to get that audience reaction, that must be an amazing feeling to be on a stage and just go, this is just amazing.
It is a great feeling. I mean, another thing I did when I left, I mean, I think I was always in a family, particularly in Ireland. Everyone, I think even stand-up comedians would say this. In Ireland, it's hard to be funny because everyone is genuinely, they're very funny. You know what I mean? And being in, especially the Mrs. Brown's bunch, they're great to hang around with. But when I'd left drama college, you're expecting the world. You know, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and then the reality is, you've got to, considering that I paid for it myself, you've got to kind of you hustle. And I did go to Edinburgh straight away to do a play, which was a comedy, and that was the first time I saw stand up. Really saw it, and I thought, oh my god, I must. This looks intriguing. And then the reality is, when you leave drama college, yeah, I got an agent and all like that. But the really is, it's only the start. You know what I mean? That's when you're hustling. And luckily, I was prepared for that because I paid for drama college. I was waiting tables, painting offices all during drama college, so none of that was a shock to me. That the reality of trying to work, But I do remember thinking, right, I've got to keep this going, the momentum going, because otherwise this is going to stop. And then I started doing stand-up comedy, and I did it for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I really enjoyed it, and I would have kept doing it. But then I went, got a different agent, and acting work started coming in, and there had to be a choice then. You know what I mean? Of like which you're going to do, because I did go away and do a year at the Royal Shakespeare Company. And then I remember I came back and the stand-ups that I'd known had gone on, and you've got to be, but that taught me a lot. That training, the training of hustling for your own, ringing up, organizing your own gigs, turning up, doing a gig. Like I remember I did my first paid gig in Crouch End, and but I remember I was standing outside, in the queue, queuing up, and one of the acts came along. Conor, you're one of the acts. You don't need to queue up. That's how naive I was. Still haven't changed. Uh, and then yeah, the feeling of doing that and having people laugh and finally getting it is a great feeling. But it's great having it, sharing that now on stage with all the other actors. You know what I mean? So I was always kind of attracted to comedy anyway.
I mean, talking about Edinburgh and the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is just epic and amazing, what is that like as an experience? I've never been myself to the festival. I've been to Edinburgh, but never to the festival. What is that like as an experience, just wandering around?
I think it was great when I was listening. This was 1995, 96. So it was a very different place then, and stand up and everything. I was doing a play which was getting a good audience considering in Edinburgh. We were getting like 20 people. That's considered success in Edinburgh. So it could be five. But I remember we shared the same. We were in a good venue, the Pleasance, which is we were all broke. I remember I was really broke, but we shared the venue with Mel and Sue. They were on after us. And then I remember looking out the window, and they were having a queue that went right around the corner coming to see them, And I was like, wow, we're only getting 20 people. And then I was just like, I think this is the future. And it very much was. Comedy then that was the thing of like, you've got a double act or a comedian. It's much easier to put on, one mic and on. But it was great. I had a great time up there, and because we managed to blag a lot of tickets, pretending we were working for some press. And so I got in to see a lot of comedy, a lot of stuff up there. And weirdly, I haven't been back since because, as I said, I did go back to see some comedy, but I haven't done. And I was approached to do share a bill with three comedians, but by then I was kind of acting. You know what I mean? And not that you can do both. I just couldn't. That for some reason I would lose the momentum.
Now, let's talk a bit about how you got involved in the world of Mrs. Brown's Boys, because that is epic and it goes all over the world. But how did you first become involved? How did you, get in on Mrs. Brown's Boys?
I auditioned. I mean, because what's great about the Mrs. Browns is that Brennan's created this group, and they're all family members, and it's like an old-fashioned circus in a way. He's created this troupe out of friends and people, his family, and I think it's amazing to have done that. So they can tour. They used to tour like a family and all like that. But I auditioned because one priest was, I think he was doing a play. The priest that had been in before, and he couldn't get out of the play, so they had auditions, and I went up, and I was only meant to go up and do one episode, a Christmas episode it was, and I went up, and as I said, I'd been acting in England for years. I'd done parts in Swiss Tony, I'd done little bits here and there, and a few films, and stuff, and I'd done plays, I'd done like but it was great to suddenly be in a company with an all Irish company, and because I'd been living over here for I'd been about 15 years, and so it was great fun from the start, and I just had a laugh the first week, really enjoyed it. And Brendan kind of said, "Oh, I really like what you're doing. I'll write, I'll write you in more because we're going to do third series next year." And I'd had promises like that before and different stuff, but he's incredibly loyal and incredibly generous, and that's what it is. I just stayed, he stayed on, and that was the case. After that, I think we did another series, or we did Christmas specials, then we did a film, and just kept going on. I just refused to go. They couldn't get rid of me, especially if there's catering or anything around. I'll be there.
I mean, the
No, but it's
great
great. It was really great. I was very fortuitous and very lucky, and it's been amazing. My son was 6 months old when I went up to do the gig, and that's always a tricky time. It's a great time, but you're all suddenly kind of conscious of money and things. So to have had that for the last, it's 11 years now or 12 years. So yeah, it's been absolutely amazing.
I mean, the great thing with Father Damien is that he's a character that you can have so much fun with because he is a bit dipsy. He's a bit, a bit thick, let's say, and does kind of you can end up being the butt of the jokes, but it really, really works. You must love that because that as a performer just must be comedy gold.
There's been some great moments where you do like this. Brendan's written some great slapstick moments. There was one with the cream, and there's one with the telephone. And there, people tell me, oh, they get so many hits on YouTube and all like that. All to be involved in all that was really great stuff. And yeah, and then even when we did the spin-off show, Father Damien had his confessional thing. That was great fun, and those kind of little monologues I did, and then the duologues with Trevor. It was, yeah, they were a gift. I remember one time I was doing one of the monologues when we were doing the pilot for that show, and the Scottish crew, which are amazing, they told me that this very famous Scottish comedian had used the green chair that I was in for, I forget the guy's name, but he was very funny. I went and looked at it, and so I felt like that was great. I was part of that old comedy history. So yeah, no, it's a pleasure. And then when you hear the audience laugh, particularly when we tour, I didn't tour with them initially, but then I joined the tour as well, which was it's just as fun. It's like when you see it going wrong, it's like the touring is amazing.
I mean,
And we
one of
were
the I
go
was
on,
going to
sorry,
say,
go on.
and I was going to say, one of the things that, I imagine is quite interesting is do you get to kind of sit in and see Brendan doing his writing process? Because I imagine that must be quite an interesting thing. I mean, I imagine there are loads of people that would love to be a fly on the wall to see how he works. And I mean, do you get much input?
Yeah, so Brendan writes a basic script, and then that changes. Yeah, it's a joy. You see Brendan in rehearsal starting to mess around and to improvise around that. So his script at the start is very much a basic, scaffolding or blueprint for what it becomes. And that's why rehearsals are very fun. They're just as good, if not better, sometimes in the show. I don't mean that. I just mean like you get so that I always found that yeah, incredibly rewarding. I always want to kind of stay in the rehearsal room and and see that process, and everyone else is a part of that as well. There's always a very you know collective kind of collective fun. You know what I mean? It's great. It is great, and he encourages that environment. Sometimes it is like we're in a big comedy crash.
I mean, the thing I love about the show is the fact that you leave in the mistakes. Sometimes when something goes wrong, you leave it in because that can be, even better sometimes than maybe what the original was going to be like. You must love
Yeah,
that fact that it's very much it's not a polished show, if that makes sense.
yeah, I think the more it goes wrong, the better. Like, I mean, for years, as when you're a trained actor, you were like, when someone would forget their lines on stage, it was always the most alive moment because you've been doing a play for like 6 weeks, and suddenly you see all the actors suddenly go, "Oh my God, it's gone wrong. What can we do?" And then to have that go wrong and it cannot be so good. It's the best. Like it can be, as you say, it's often better. And you particularly see that when we tour, because there's really funny moments that come out of that. And Brendan's always looking for that. His antenna is always there to try and find that. You
I mean,
know.
when he gives you this stuff, do you sometimes see his eyes as like maybe he has an idea kind of while you're on the studio floor, and is it quite exciting to see where he's going to go with things?
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I didn't know with the some of the ones with the physical stuff. I didn't know where he was going. Where when he was pretending to be a dog, and he like jumped on me on the table, and like so, I honestly didn't know where that was going to go. And again, we only did that in one take. I think the one that we might have done it again, but was never as good as the first one. And there was stuff other kind of slapstick moments similar. He's very good because of years of doing live work. Like any top comedian, he knows how to kind of when to hit it and kind of ride that crest. You know what I mean? Particularly, he's amazing at all that slapstick stuff. He's amazing at all the physical stuff. Um, and yeah, yeah, it's brilliant to be a part of that. You
No,
know.
the great thing with the show is it is, like I said earlier, it's watched all over the world. You obviously tour, I know you've been to like Australia, places like that. Where's the weirdest place that you guys have? Because obviously, fame is something that comes with a show like this. But where's the weirdest place you've been recognized that you thought, oh my word, I didn't even know you kind of watched this show, sort of thing?
Oh, that's a good question. I've had it in a few places. The very first time when the show went out, as the first kind of bit of recognition, I was just at the airport. I was going home, and this guy came up to me with a high vis, and and he was like approaching me, and I thought, Jesus, I'm in trouble here. Am I carrying something? Or and, he reached out and he went, "Can I have your autograph?" And I said to him, "You absolutely just scared the shit out of me there." And that was the first time, and then the most unusual place I was in Dublin with my son and a few friends from his school, and we climbed this mountain in Bray called Bray Head. At the very top of that, there was it's a guy there sitting on his own. He looked like, and then he was kind of, oh, Father Damien. And it's just kind of funny. There's been a few like that. You get recognized. It happens at the weirdest times. Um, I get it in supermarkets the odd time, and you're just in your different world. You know what I mean? And but everyone's always very nice. Everyone's always like and uh, we're always very. I am, and I think all the whole crew are always very appreciative of it. Like when we do the tour pre-COVID, we used to like do signings, stay for like an hour, and then also meet fans that would come to show during it in the interval, and you know, they're and chat to them before because they have that old style. Like comics used to be, a comic can usually talk and then go on stage. You know what I mean? I know certain actors would not be able to do that. You and it's I don't know. It's just a kind of it goes to that world. But yeah. Um, I'm trying to think of any others. There's been a few like that. You know what I mean? Um,
I imagine as well you must love the fact that you get to travel around the world with the show. And do you quite enjoy that aspect of getting to travel the world as part of the tour, and meeting fans all around the world?
yeah, yeah, no, no. Touring is great. Touring is great. And they're very good. We usually tour in short periods. You know what I mean? We toured the first time we toured the musical here. It was amazing. We just did weekends because we were playing big venues. So you would do like the O2, or you were doing like an. I live just outside London. I live so and I live and so where I live in like I live in it was great for me to get the train up, and so we were doing just Friday a show, two on Saturday, one Sunday, and I thought this was amazing. Then I had the rest of the week with my family. That was a dream scenario. But it's still nice going. We toured Ireland last year before Christmas, and that was amazing. I had never because I'd been most of my kind of professional work or had been over here, and it was great to tour Ireland. I really enjoyed that. We toured Galway, we did Derry, we did Kerry, and it's always nice coming back to Dublin, no matter what. I'm also playing London here. London's my hometown now, and so we played the Apollo, and that was amazing. The weather was it was really like the weather we had kind of recently, that warm, and so that was an amazing feeling to have played the Apollo because I'd seen loads of bands there as well. So yeah, that was special.
The other amazing thing with the show is obviously its longevity. It's still popular now. People still love it. I imagine they still want to always come up and talk to you. So, did you ever imagine? I know you said it was only meant to be one episode when you started, but did you ever imagine that you would still be there, to this day?
No, no, none at all. No, as I said, I was like, I went. It was just meant to be one episode, so it was like I had no idea it was going to go on this long, and so no, it's amazing. No, I hadn't, and and in the main, as I said, the fans they're really, they love the show, and it's always nice to try to kind of take that in and kind of be appreciative of it. Um, yeah, it's very lucky because yeah, I mean, acting and performing, you got massive highs and lows, so to have had that kind of bit of security over the last 12 years has been amazing. You know, it has.
And I mean, I get the impression that everyone within the cast, you're all very, you love what you do, and I get the impression that you kind of all would keep doing this as long as it continues. I don't see that, it seems like everyone's loving it and will keep doing it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves doing it, but then Brendan particularly, he loves touring as well. He loves doing the show. I mean, he loves working, and they're very good at. They work hard, and we work hard. But particularly, they work hard in short. So we'll tour for like 7, 8 weeks, and then you can have time off. So you're only working, and then again you'll record. We just did this new series, which is on now at the moment. It's on Fridays and BBC as a plug, and
No,
9:30.
9:30, 9:30.
Place well remembered. So we just did that in April, May, and so yeah, we just finished doing that. So again, that was a concentrated period of 7 weeks or so, and then I don't. We might be touring next year. I'm not waiting to hear. So about to go up do the Christmas specials in September, October. So no, it's great. It's great. So you can in between those gaps, you can have your family time and do other work. I've always done voiceovers and whatever else comes in, but um, it's amazing. I don't know. I mean, thankfully, people still want to see the show. I think the landscape of watching, like, I mean, the show used to get 10 million and all like that, and it still gets a phenomenal amount of people. I think it's 4 million or something. But the landscape of viewing, as you know, has changed because of Netflix and streaming like that. So thankfully, there's still a massive loyal fan base there.
Now, do you ever get fans that get quite confused? Because obviously the show is set in Ireland, but you film in Scotland. Does that ever get a bit confusing?
I get fans who are confused anyway. They come up and say, I've had this a few times. They they come up and they say, I love Father Ted. I love Father Ted. And I just go, so do I. Yeah. And I just and when you're people are amazed because they say, because I live outside London. Where I live, people are like, "What are you doing here?" I could be in like waitress. Why are you here? Why are you here? Well, I'm shopping. And so there's that. But when we filmed in Scotland, again, that's like Scotland and the north of England, particularly, they really are big fans of the show. And down in the south, like there's some London people who really love the show. You know what I mean? Um, but sorry. I kind of think I've answered your question there. Kind of forgot. I do go off in tangents.
No, that's all right. That's all right. We were just talking about the confusion between it being filmed, obviously up in Scotland. But
Yeah, people are always amazed by that. Sorry, yeah, that's it. Yeah, people are always like, "Oh, why are you filming in Scotland?" And I was like, I think Brendan, when they had the live show, did very well in the pavilion up there, and that's where the BBC producer called Steve McCrum came in and watched the show, and he was the one that was instrumental in getting the show on telly. He really was. So, but that's why Brendan Retain had a certain loyalty for Scotland, particularly Glasgow. Glasgow is very similar to Dublin as well. It's a great city to visit. People are chatty. It has it's a really good mix. The Scots are. I've had some amazing taxi drivers pick me up when I'm going from the airport, and some of the time it's like you're getting a lift by Billy Connolly or something. There's one guy who sounded exactly like him. He called himself King Edward or King Richard. He was amazing. It was the funniest trips I've ever had.
now, obviously, having appeared in so many episodes, and the show just keeps going from strength to strength. Do you have a favorite episode? Is there one for you that just sticks in your head and that you just love more than the others, or is it hard to pick?
It's hard to pick. I don't like I don't usually go back and watch stuff. I mean, and sometimes particularly now when we did film 4 episodes, like a week or two later, I'd be like, they'll be all jumbled in my head. You know what I mean? And a lot of the Christmas specials I'm like that. If I watch one, I go, "What's happening here?" But the moments within the various ones, I did enjoy the Christmas special where we put on the show. And that was actually that was the second part of the episode where we put on the nativity play. That was fun because it was different. They chopped up the studio and we shot it a different way. Some other bits. I'm trying to think of one episode. There's there's bits and episodes, and there's certain episodes of that I love being part of. You know what I mean? I still get excited when we go up and we're going. We first read through, and particularly when I go into the BBC, I'm just as excited as I was like the first time.
Now, obviously, outside of Mrs. Brown's Boys, I imagine for you, do you get much chance to do sort of other stuff that isn't Mrs. Brown's related? I mean, what else have you been up to recently?
Yeah, as I said, I do a lot of voiceover and stuff, and I did a film recently over in Ireland. My agent rang, said you've been an offer, which is always nice, so you don't have to audition or do a self tape. And I was like, great. And then she said it's the part of a priest, and I was like, oh right. So is this what's going to be? And it was great. It was great fun. It's like I love working, so I always want to keep at it. At the moment now, I'm kind of it's August, so my wife is she does costumes, so she's busy at the moment. She does costumes for plays and on the West End. So the next few weeks I'm kind of with my son. He's just on holidays. Although I am fitting in work around it, like I do voiceovers. I'd say at the moment that's all I'm kind of doing stuff like that. But whatever comes in, you know what I mean. Um,
And I was going to say, I mean, playing a priest, I mean, have you learned anything about, from playing a priest?
um, I, I don't know. I mean, people, I think must have had some kind of priestly quality. Nah, I mean, in terms of like I was naturally quite a kind of chatty person anyway. The one thing I love about Mrs. Brown's is just putting on those priest shoes and the costume department, which are amazing up there. Yvonne, Catherine, they're always trying to buy me new shoes, and I said, no, I love these ones. Like they're really priesty shoes, that kind of leather ones. You would only ever see a priest in them, and then I was like, no, they're fine. That's everything. As soon as I put them on, like it's just lovely kind of. They're just like no one but a priest would be seen in them.
No, I just want to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. But before we go, I mean, one of the things I always like to finish my interviews with is our NHS, what an amazing service they provide. But what would you like to say to anyone who's working in a hospital, the staff that, do a great job? What would you like to say?
Oh, just thank you. I think you're amazing. I've always said years ago, I used to go in and as a charity thing and read to stroke victims. It was a facility provided by actors in London, and I see how much, particularly the nurses, do all the work. You know what I mean? They do, and without that care and without that love, warmth, no one will get through anything. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the doctors do nothing. They don't do anything. They would just turn up the amount of work and the hours they had to work is truly staggering. And then they're just like I say, we're blessed and fortunate that it's still there. I'm very appreciative of having had my son here in Chertsey, St. Peter's. I'm very appreciative of it. You know.
And I mean, to any of the patients who are listening at the moment, maybe not having the best of times, what messages would you like to send to them?
Oh, listen, just sorry to hear that you're going through anything, but just to like kind of hopefully this or something else or any kind of comedy or anything will be able to take you out of it. You know what I mean? Having lost both my parents and having to go into visit hospital, I know how tough it can be. And but there's always hope.
No, I just want to say, Connor, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving up your time. You're
Not at
welcome
all.
back anytime. And yeah, keep safe.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Lovely to meet you. And yeah, we'll chat again soon.